Smart24 Driving Business.
Hello and a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today and for watching Smart24 TV, where we drive your business. My name is Anthony Sebali. Now you're watching, of course, the financial markets, another edition. It's a Tuesday, and we are reporting live from plot 42 Nile Avenue, Kampala. Remember to follow us on social media at Smart24 TV on Twitter and at Anthony Sebali on Twitter as well. You can also get to give us feedback through our YouTube section, the comment section, and our YouTube channel at Smart24 TV Live. The show is proudly brought to you by Altex, and with Altex we are saying you can do something new. Now, Altex is a trading platform that is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda, and they bring you the bonds and the South African, the East African capital markets on your phone by simply dialing *292#. You can be able to trade online. With Altex East Africa, we are saying something new is being done because no one in East Africa before has been able to avail bonds as cheap as 15,000 shillings and bring that through mobile money access and transactions from mobile money to the capital markets. That is something new that we are saying you can do if you only dial *292#. Markets open at 8:15 and close at 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. Altex East Africa, do something new. Now, of course, ahead of the show, we have a lot in store for you. We have, of course, the report from Stanbic Bank Uganda. We'll tell you why Stanbic Bank Uganda this time had an increase in their profit share. We'll also be talking later on about the United reports, the jobs reports, and what impact they have had on the stocks just recently, and the jobs data as well. So we will be getting to look into that later on. But starting off with the Uganda Securities Exchange, on Monday there are 18 listings that are listed, of course, on the exchange as per Monday, and there are only 2 that participated in trading, and this was MTN Uganda and Stanbic Bank Uganda. Now, Stanbic Bank Uganda had the biggest share of the market with over 1.2 million shares traded. MTN Uganda only managed to trade 45,500 shares on the market. Now, in aggregate, also 5 gainers were registered and 2 losers. And among the top gainers, MTN came out with a gain of 0.22%. at a closing price of 168.37 Ugandan shillings. Now, MTN currently is at the lowest pricing since listing, not since listing, at least since the year began this time round, with the company stock losing very fast from 180 shillings in a few weeks to 168 currently. But, however, yesterday the company saw a gain of at least 0.37 shillings, and this was a 0.22% increment via percentages to a price that closed at 168.37 shillings. Now, MTN Uganda was the 5th gainer amongst the 5 gainers for the day, and currently with a company's stock price of 168.37 shillings, the market capitalization of the company is at a gross value of 3.77 trillion Ugandan shillings on the stock market. This makes the company at least have about 18.9% of the exchange equities market. Now, MTN Uganda currently makes the 3rd most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, I'm getting to look ahead on the volumes. The volumes the 45,582 shares had at least a gross turnover of 7.67 million Ugandan shillings registered. Currently, 22.4 billion shares are still outstanding on the on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Now, when you look back, MTN Uganda has, in the recent few weeks, shed off quite some amount of value from the shareholder. In the last 1 week, they have lost 0.96%. In the last 4 weeks, at least 3.49% has been lost. In the last 3 months, which is almost the year that we have just encountered, they have lost at least 6.46%. We're talking about the company that began the year with 180.0 shillings, and now at 168, losses of over 6.46%. Now, this is not new. Last year, around the same period of time, MTN was trading at prices as low as 160. And just to be specific, when you look back at MTN trading last year in the month of, in the month of Feb, when you look at the tradings of MTN last year, in the month of July, when you look at also Feb, April, they were around 180 shillings. And then when we look at the month of February, they were as low as 160.0. Actually, this was their lowest price. There is a tendency right now, when you look at the trend, that the company could be going back to those prices that they had last year in 2022. Now, MTN came on the Uganda Securities Exchange main board with a price of 200 shillings. And that was after its initial public offer, which was, by the way, undersubscribed, meaning there were fewer shares bought than those who were actually put up for the sale. And this, of course, was probably due to the fact that the pricing was quite a little bit higher from what we've seen before in initial public offers on the Uganda Securities Exchange. But also, the company tried to make it easy for people to be able to buy shares with the USSD code that they brought to board, so that people could register and could be able to buy and be able to access market information on their phone, which was quite convenient, and also be able to transfer, buy shares with their mobile money, using their mobile money. Now, all that withstanding, the company's stock was still undersubscribed to during the initial public offer. Now, however, later on, the company started picking up from the 160 shillings to the 170s and then 180s, and that was like the average pricing last year. And with that same price, the company began the year 2023. However, just a few weeks ago, the company was able to make an announcement that it made a 20% profit increase after tax, rather before tax, yeah. And this, of course, would probably trigger, something good, amongst the investors. Probably people would be yearning to buy stock that is of a company that has made more profit. However, that has not been the case, and you've seen the company decline consequently. That, of course, would mean to raise the dividend and so on. Nothing has happened in terms of increasing or appreciation of price. Now, what is my take? My take is, if you are able to buy more shares at MTN, I can bet that in the next couple of weeks, as of course we watch more of the earnings unfold, of course MTN will be also releasing their financial statements for 2022 very soon, I'm pretty sure. You will see a lot of people rushing to buy, and that's the problem. They're going to rush to buy when the prices are going up, yet right now you're seeing the prices are down, and this is the best time to get in. Being the fact that last year MTN's lowest price was 160, we are around 160, so definitely this could be the lowest for this year. So maybe, who knows, in December this year the stock could go back to 190, maybe 200 shillings. Now that's like a 20 shillings gain. That's a great margin for you as an investor, especially the speculative investors here, but also for the longer term investors. Definitely MTN could be a stock that you are looking up to in the next couple of years to be one of the most valuable on the Uganda Securities Exchange. That now it's a requirement for the Uganda Communications Commission that all national telecommunication companies get listed on the exchange, at least having 20% of their stake, according to the UCC article for the National Telecommunication Companies amended 2020. Now, Airtel Uganda was expected to list last year, Unfortunately, they did not because of the market conditions that were prevailing at the moment, which they said were not favorable for an initial public offer, of course, citing inflation and the like. Well, let's see if this year happens to be a good year for the trading here in Uganda. We could have Airtel listing as well, and that would create competition. And whenever we have competition, that's a good thing because stocks get to improve. Who is buying Airtel, who is buying MTN, and now this whole narrative is about telecommunication companies. So I would say buy for MTN Uganda currently. Now MTN Uganda still has the second most traded on stock, meaning people are still buying their stock, and over the past 3 months they have recorded at least 21.2 million shares, and these are valued at 3.81 billion Ugandan shillings. Well, away from MTN Uganda stock, Jubilee Holdings Limited led the gainers with a 3.93% gain up to a price of 5,030.34 shillings. And Centrum Investments added at least 2.57% of its value on its value with a closing price of at least 254.64 shillings, whereas Equity Bank Holdings had at least a gain of 1.84% added, and that was to close at 1,293.11 shillings. Nation Media Group added 1.75% up to a price of 450.46 Ugandan shillings. At the moment, East African Breweries Limited lost 0.9%, and this was down to a price of 4,800 shillings. And Kenya Airways continued to lose value, of course, after a deadly loss that they did hit for the year. Over 319 billion Kenyan shillings in losses in 2022, their worst loss ever. And they are becoming that this will be the bottom. But will it be? We don't know. Well, the company's stock has lost value on the Uganda Securities Exchange by 0.17% as per yesterday's trades, and closed at 108.85 shillings. Well, moving on, the all-share index moved up, of course, consequent of the many gainers, 5 gainers in total, up to a price of by 6.57 points, up to at least over 1,139.73. Now, this means that we are on a 1-week gain of 2.4% on average on the exchange, and the 4-week loss has been, of course, reduced to 4.95%, and year-to-date losses drawn to at least 6.01%, which is quite promising as we wind up the financial year here in Uganda. Now, the USE Local Company Index increased as well by 0.12%, of course, consequent of the gain of MTN Uganda up to 259.23 points, and this was a 1-week loss of 2.71% and 4-week losses of 5.09%. Year-to-date losses of at least 4.93% are being currently registered on the MTN stock. And that's the trading, my friend, from the Uganda Securities Exchange as per the Monday tradings. Moving on, letting go, of course, without, of course, forgetting the performances regarding the volumes. The volumes declined 43% and 74% the turnovers as well. So generally there was slower trading on Monday, comparing it with Friday. Moving ahead to the Uganda clay stock, but before we do that, Stanbic Bank Uganda had the biggest volume. Let's have a look at what Stanbic Bank Uganda currently looks like. Market capitalization currently stands at 1.07 trillion Ugandan shillings at the bank, that currently holds 5.38% of the entire equity market on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Currently, Stanbic Bank trades at 21 shillings. With at least a volume of 1.24 million traded on Monday, they had a turnover of 26 million. Now, for a stock that is that affordable, 21 shillings, and you have a volume, turnover of 26 million, that's a huge performance. That's a commendable and quite impressive performance from Stanbic Bank Uganda. Now, Stanbic Bank Uganda reported a 33% growth in profit after tax from the diversification of its revenue streams in the year 2022. Now, in details contained in the bank's financial statement, Stanbic's financial statements indicated that the profit after tax, and this we are talking about profit after tax, right? After all the taxes have been removed, was 366 billion. Due to this was of course a growth due to deliberate move to diversify revenue streams, according to the financial statements here, arising from lending to various sectors in the economy. Now, Stanbic, which remains Uganda's biggest bank by assets, has seen its profit margin grow, notwithstanding an unstable economic environment characterized by, of course, high commodity prices and inflation, as well as COVID-19 related and the Ebola-related effects. For instance, when you look at the reports, a profit of 275 billion was registered in 2021, and then when you look at 2020, they had 243 billion. So from 2021, rather from 2020, that was 243 billion, to 2021, 275 billion. Now that's a growth of at least like let's see, about 25 billion. Now in 2022, they grew from 275 billion shillings to 366 billion. During the period ended 2022, the customer deposits as well grew by 6.8%. That is at least to a tune of 6.1 trillion Ugandan shillings, from at least 5.7 trillion Ugandan shillings, with the loans and advances rising from 4.1 trillion, rather from 3.7 trillion to 4.1 trillion. Assets also grew by 3.9% to over 9 trillion. What a performance from Stanbic Bank Uganda. However, when you look at the bank's writing off, the bank wrote off at least 101.1 billion, which has increased from 63.2 billion, while operation costs as well increased by 13 billion. That's 3% from at least to at least 495 billion due to inflation, which is of course something really understandable. Stanbic also reported that asset quality remained sound, with the ratio of non-performing loans to gross salary loans reducing to 2.9%, while provisioning for bad and doubtful debts reduced to 59.5 billion from 70.4 billion Ugandan shillings. All this was presented by Mrs. Annette Juko, who is the Stanbic Uganda Chief Executive Officer, saying that the bank has benefited millions of Ugandans and engineered the economic growth of their customers from the negative effects of the pandemic. And well, what will be happening to the dividend? I don't have the idea yet. Of course, they have not published these results on the exchange, because under the listing rules of the Uganda Securities Exchange, every listed entity must publish their financial results online on the Uganda Securities Exchange website and on their portal as well, for the public to actually see. They also have to put them in printed media all over the country, of course, for the criticism of the public. And that, of course, is why we rely on the exchange, because of transparency and the openness that is currently being witnessed. But that's the Stanbic Bank for you. And if you haven't bought shares, and take it from me, today the shares are 21 shillings at Stanbic, and you can just reach out to your stockbroker right now and make that order. With 20 shillings, with 21,000, you can buy 10 shares. No, sorry, actually, you can buy 1,000 shares. And with 210,000, you can buy 10,000 shares. So what is stopping you from buying some stock here? Because I'm seeing some real value that's going to be added to people's money right here on the exchange, and you want to be a part of that. So let's get to move ahead, ladies and gentlemen, as our time is fast spent, of course, to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, the Nairobi Securities Exchange witnessed the all-share index shedding of at least 0.45 points on Monday, after the day ended with 50 listings listed on the exchange, coming out as participants in the day that saw 17 gainers and 12 or 20 losers. Now, Absa New Gold Exchange Traded Fund led the gainers with 10.11% share price appreciation. Now, Barclays New Gold ETF, or ABSA, which is now ABSA, Barclays, which is now ABSA, is a cross-listing of over at least 1.4 billion US dollars new gold exchange traded fund that listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in 2004 and is also listed on 5 other African markets. The ABSA New Gold Exchange Traded Fund has currently at least over about 640 million Kenyan shillings, and this represents 0.03% of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This makes the exchange traded fund the 49th on the market. Now, yesterday the ETF went up 235 Kenyan shillings up to over 2,560 shillings after trading over 400 shares and with a gross turnover of over 1.02 million shillings on the market. Now, this exchange traded fund has recently witnessed a very good performance after beginning the year with over 2,165 Kenyan shillings and gaining over 18.2% on the year-to-date performance, making it the 8th in year-to-date performance on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's currently, however, the 57th most traded on stock, of course, because it's quite expensive. 2,000 Kenyan shillings is just about 60,000 Ugandan shillings. So that's a lot of money to invest for, especially the local investors. However, well, it still maintains the 57th position in terms of trading out of the 65 stocks in the last 3 months, recording at least 5,700 shares on the Nairobi markets. Now, Fahari IT also traded at least some good volume and came out with a 7.43% gain. And BOC Kenya also had added to their value. Salinity and Coffee added at least 8.56%, and Elam added rather depreciated at least 9.41%, coming out as a bottom loser. Safaricom recorded the highest volume of over 14.3 million shares, followed by Equity Group Holdings. Now, Safaricom stock has been suffering losses in the past few weeks, and this was no different on Monday after the stock lost 0.04 Kenyan shillings down to 0.85 Kenyan shillings after a loss of 4.49%. Currently, the stock trades at 0.85 Kenyan shillings. And in summary, the exchange data showed an improvement of 208% in terms of volume and 94% turnover and 28% in terms of the deals. So the deals kept coming in, and that's of course a very promising sign that the markets will probably have a better second quarter of 2023. Moving ahead, my friend, to the United States market. This is a day that, of course, we are looking at because the data of the jobs there was released yesterday. Now, on the Wall Street, the US stocks sank as oil prices. I mean, 2 key pieces of data. Number one was the JOLTS job opening survey, which showed a softening in the labor survey in the labor market, and the factor orders data. Now, checking in on the indices, by 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the S&P 500 had already declined 0.7%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average had slipped by 0.78%, whereas the Nasdaq, the tech-heavy Nasdaq, had already slid by 0.54%. Now, the oil prices moved downwards, with the WTI crude oil, the US benchmark, trading below over $80 per barrel, and oil was back in its 4th month trading range after the OPEC Plus announced it would slash output by 1.16 million barrels per day. On the economic front, vacancies at the US employers fell to 9.33 million from 10.5 million, lower than expected. On the other hand, the quits were up and layoffs were also down. The data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed. Separately, factory orders fell 0.3%, also lower than the anticipated. The bond yields moved downwards after the data prints, and the yield on the 10-year Treasury bond was deeping to at least 3.35%. And that's the trading, my friend, from the globe and from here in East Africa. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Smart24 TV and follow the Matters in Business if you want to know business 24 hours, 7 days a week in Uganda, in East Africa, and in the globe. Just keep watching Smart24 TV. The show was brought to you by Otex East Africa. With Otex, you can do something new. All you need to do is simply dial *292# to experience the magic, transferring funds off your mobile wallet to the platform to trade on the capital markets. My name is Anthony Sebale, and I'm very thankful that you joined me today. I wish you a very lovely day. Stay around.